All right, Daniel, I'm so excited to be able to chat with you today. I know we've been working on an exciting project together
Yes.
recently, which then led me to want to do our thought leader interview with you that we just recently posted on our website. And I just wanted to dig in to be able to talk about a few more pieces that every time I talk to you, it just makes me excited to learn more about the accounting world, which I think is a gift for you of what you're doing there. So one, if people have not read the blog post that we have, will you just tell us a little bit more about Whittaker and Company and about your role there?
Sure. So we're a CPA firm located in Seal Beach, and our ideal clients that we serve are family businesses that are just going through a time of growth. Our purpose is that we exist to, work with business owners who want to grow, to find that personal and financial fulfillment as we kind of walk the journey together. And that broad sense of a term gets lived out in a very customized way for each client, each family that we come across, because all families are different, all families are special, and we definitely are very sensitive to each dynamic. So we want to respect the system of the family that's there, in addition to the actual business that the family is running. And so it's kind of marrying that business acumen with the emotional intelligence, I'll guess, the sensitivity to recognize that it's people that we're dealing with, to just marry those two things together.
I love that. Well, as a second generation family business owner, I love just the focus on family businesses and then working with people that understand that we are different and unique, these types of businesses. I don't think I realized, is the majority of your business family businesses, of your clients or family business?
It is, yeah.
I love that. And then you grew up in a family business, right?
I did.
Well, in New York?
I did. And that's kind of where this heart really started for me. My dad's a serial entrepreneur, where he's had businesses from a pet store, working in finance in Korea, a pet store in Vancouver, Canada, a jewelry store in the Bronx in New York, a coin laundry in downtown LA. He's now an acupuncturist out in the Corona area in California.
I love it.
And so it's just like that guy, just, he's kind of doing his thing. And throughout all of this, what I've observed him do is the connection that he makes with every person that he serves in different capacities, and the businesses in the surrounding areas. There's a camaraderie there, there's a warmth there, there's a empathy there that just, they get each other, they understand, the stresses of life. And I cherish that, because growing up in New York, there's a lot of family businesses, from the mom and pop bagel shop to the little like sneaker store down the street. And being able to just talk to the people behind these products, behind these services, it just made everything so much more lively and fun.
I love that. I was just on a call last week with the Center for Family Business up at Cal State Fullerton, and they were presenting findings, their updated findings about the percent of businesses. And I think it was like almost 80% of businesses in the United States are family businesses. And the numbers hadn't been updated, I think, since, I don't even know, it was like 2003 or something, but they just put out these new findings. And it's incredible how impactful family businesses are here in the US. And
Absolutely.
just digging in and having a specialized focus there, I love. So, okay, so then your role at Whittaker is...
So my title is Senior Manager.
Okay.
But with our firm, it's not really about title, it's more about like the job that you perform. So I essentially kind of oversee our internal team, and primarily focus on growth paths of applying what we do on the outside inside.
Okay.
And so it's we serve business owners who want to grow. We serve team members who want to grow. And how do we do that? And developing skill sets and defining career paths and going into those things. So in addition to that, getting involved with certain fractional CFO type services to,
Yep.
really interacting with the ownership group of certain families to get them from point A to point B. It's kind of a mixed bag of external stuff and internal stuff of what I actually do.
I love that. Every day is different.
Yep.
I will say that, so we've been, one, I love that you said that you're working on the inside. So obviously Kate
Yes.
and I run the business, my twin sister and I run the business together. She's mainly inside of the house. I'm mainly outside the house, sales and marketing. And we started working together when we were talking about finance and the finance role. Yep. And then the marketing role and how different they might have different perspectives in seeing things. And so I have firsthand inside our business have worked on kind of the clash, or maybe the differing of opinions of having Kate seeing the finance accounting side of things. Yep. I'm more on the sales and marketing, big idea, big picture thinkers type of things. So I wonder too, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see? Here's kind of a loaded question from kind of a marketing perspective, and getting the finance guys to be able to chat with each other and talk to each other. So one, maybe the biggest challenges, and we can even start with some of the benefits of having them work together.
I think starting with the challenges, it's the person that fills each role, I think is where the challenge begins, because a creative type person is creative. They think outside the box. A numbers type
everything
person.
Everything is big. Everything, right. Everything is possible. Yes.
and a numbers person, we build boxes, and it's, in accounting, it's called debits and credits. Yeah. And it's called entering them in spreadsheets, literally putting numbers into boxes and cells. Yes. And so it's really the first challenge is to translate what is communicated from either person so that they understand one another. To have an accountant explain things in, normal English, not accountant or numerical terms. Yeah. And then for a marketing person to recognize, hey, like an accountant person, we need a little bit more structure to what you're valuing. Like, what is the numerical impact of the pursuit that you're going after? Yep. And so I think there is that need of not a give and take, but more like an adaptation of each other's styles to start, because communication is really the heart behind collaboration. And both sides need to be able to communicate to one another in a way that they'll each understand. And some is easier than others, but that's one thing that we have come across that kind of remain within their own silos.
I love that. Well, I think I've told you before, every time that you're talking about these things, I'm like, you're like my Zen, like numbers guy, that I'm like intrigued to learn more, which is definitely a gift, because sometimes it's quite a bit of trying to figure this out. So right. In working with your clients, then, are you then stepping back to say, instead of just looking at the numbers, like you kind of touched on at the beginning, but what are the big pictures? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, is that where you start when you're working with clients?
That's where we remain, I'll say. We start at different points because, they'll come to us with like a different pain point, a different need. Some may be compliance driven, some may be cash flow. Like, some are easy fixes, some are longer term. Right. And so for us, what we're like to remain is continuing to build stories with what the numbers are telling us. Being able to, and it doesn't have to be this groundbreaking thing. It could be something of restating what they already know, but now that we all know this, let's also prioritize our actions so that we could continue to enhance the story that we're in to not get stuck. And, even in the area of like day-to-day bookkeeping, with just doing bank reconciliations for some of our accounting clients. The question that we often get is, a business owner, a family group, they just don't have confidence in their historic data. And for us, a supposed mundane thing of a bank rec, that directly feeds into that pain that the business owner has spoken, because that's the building blocks of getting confident and comfortable. And so, whatever it is that we're doing in the accounting world or in the tax world of, filing tax returns, we don't see it just as those things. It's a continuous effort with, playing different roles, but the play is to really enhance the family and the business where they're at.
So what about, I'm assuming that then, so you work with, you're mainly working with the owners, or then are you also then working with all the different departments in a company to get them, I'll say, financial literate? Assuming that's, what we'd be saying, so that they can be all working together to kind of get at different levels.
Yeah, so it all, I wouldn't say all, because not all need to be to that level, but definitely for the ones that apply, for sure. Owners and at a minimum, their controller, their CFO, so that we're all on the same page. And maybe even going into their ops team, maybe going into their HR. A lot of family businesses don't have like an HR department per se that's in a silo. It's often like a, there's multiple hats that people wear.
Yes.
And so we'll work with those multi-hatted peoples to really enhance and get them more comfortable with the tasks that they've been given from whomever it was that gave it to them. Because it truly is a team effort. The owner can't do everything. The controller can't do everything. Nothing is done in a vacuum. And so it's really bringing upon team members when appropriate, as appropriate, so that we could all just move forward.
I think it's such an interesting conversation, which I think we've just had a lot of them, but around finance to me before was always kind of this like behind the glass door, and they were, they would always crunch the numbers and come back, and at least for the marketing department, right? I used to work at some big companies in their departments, and it would come down and be like, nope, your budget's cut. Nope, you didn't really know what was happening, and then you crunch the numbers again, it would go back up, and close the door, and then they'd come back in and they'd either cut your budget or hopefully get the same as last year. And so are you seeing more of, or this is where you guys are really trying to break down the silos of? I just think that having, and obviously I'm looking from a perspective of marketing, but I think from sales and ops and all of that, but having marketing and finance working together, it seems like, I don't know, are you seeing more of it, or that's kind of where you guys are trailblazing and trying to get that relationship more?
I think we are seeing more of it, because there's the need seems to be heightened, as we're kind of coming out of a very, transient time where you can't really use historic behaviors, historic knowledge to predict the future. We're kind of predicting the future on the fly as we go. The focus is definitely, okay, now that we're in this state of the world, how do we make sense of what makes sense going forward? Like, what types of decisions do we need to make? And as we move forward, it's, okay, well, let's get down to the basics sometimes, and maybe let's open up the scope of, instead of looking at the last 24 months, maybe we should look at 36 months, or maybe we should look at 6, depending on the situation. And so I think the need for that confidence to know that we're doing the right thing. What do I need to do next? I think that's what's triggering a lot of a desire of, okay, like, I know I need to do something on marketing. I know I need to do something on ops, but I need to also know, am I doing the right thing in those? And then that's where the numbers could really enhance and follow those behaviors, so that when, accountability time comes, where we could really measure with data, did I do a good job? Do I need to adjust? That's where a lot of that stuff could happen. So we're seeing more of a need and more questions come up in that area, for sure.
I definitely am seeing, one, I think that marketing is having a bigger seat at the table now. The hats that you talk about, different hats of business owners, the hats that marketing is wearing is just been expanded exponentially. Before, we were a cost center, and now being seen as a revenue generator and customer retention, customer loyalty, acquisition. All of these things of having the seat at the table, there's a lot more eyes, obviously, on the budgets that we have. Being a revenue generator is a fantastic place to be in, as opposed to just being a cost center, being able to see that way. And that's what we've been really, and as we're working with our clients, I think a lot of people are coming to us saying, we need to be able to figure out where to maximize our marketing spend, where to focus our effort, and to figure this out. And so obviously looking at the bigger picture, what problem are we solving? Therefore, which campaigns and which strategies are we using? And that was one of the exciting things about then. And as we're looking at the bigger picture in all parts of the organization, is then really if we could tie in finance on the front end of this to be able to create strategies and tie on the front end, and even going to the finance department, going to be like you and saying, okay, this is what the problem is. This is what we're looking to accomplish. This is how we think we should be measuring it. What do you think? And not to get approval, like changing that dynamic. Instead of, I don't want you getting approval, I want it to be working together to come up with the best solution. Like, I just feel like it doesn't need to be such this, I don't know, asking for approval relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then to take that, in a different direction as well, it's, in order to know what we've done up to this point, to have an understanding of how we got here could also dictate, what we do in the future. Again, not on a one-to-one, not so directly, but having an understanding of, okay, these things have generated these, this revenue before, may or may not be connected to what we're pursuing now, but to give credit where credit is due also, to recognize, wow, like marketing did do a lot of good things, and marketing did actually generate these things that maybe took a little bit longer than expected, but we didn't lose anything. And I think that mentality of that we didn't lose anything really frees us to make better decisions going forward, because now we're fresh, we're free of baggage, we're free of history. We're here today because of everything that we've done, and to a point, everything that has been done to us outside of our control, market forces and everything else. And I think if we all start clean, fresh, without baggage from especially the finance position, because that's where a lot of this comes from. Once we free ourselves from that and recognize the good fruit that did come from our efforts and our money that we spent, then we could be much more collaborative to just work together going forward.
I love that. I mean, I think there's so much to unpack. I think that a big part also that marketing can bring to the table, or at least from the insights perspective, is the why things are happening. I mean, this, like you just said, I mean, this whole world is so different. I'm so intrigued by, trend lines. I mean, we do a lot of year over year and trending and figuring out. I mean, the past year, regardless if you had a really good year or a really bad year, the next trend lines for the next few years are just all out of whack. Of where things are and how you're benchmarking and how you're setting goals and all of that, but adding some insights and customer insights of like why these things happen, what actually happened, as opposed to just, why they happen, as opposed to just what they happen, because there's more to the story than just looking at the numbers. And so if we can try and make sure, and not in a, but this is why it happened, not trying to like justify, but really understand the bigger picture. Because we have to have both sides of the story. I mean, one way or the other, we have to be making money as companies. I mean, you just have to survive. You need customers. You need to keep them. You need to have revenue to pay. I mean, that's just how it is. But I think if we all remember, and from at least a marketing or insights perspective, of us being the voice of the customer and bringing them forward to say what's going on and what's happening, it's just, I don't know, an exciting time to be able to work together, I think, and starting to see that kind of is exciting. So I know I'm supposed to be following my script here of different questions, which of course have gone way off base from the very beginning. But another thing that I'm just curious about, because I want to make sure kind of we're coming up on short on time here. And of course, I did not send you any questions ahead of time. So, and I know that you love right off the top of your head type of things. But one thing we love here is kind of the strategic foresight world and thinking into the future, like what is coming. So I'm curious about, in the world of accounting, to me, and that is not my area of expertise at all. Accounting and finance, everything is like same, and has been for a long time. What do you see as exciting or new or changing in the next few years in this world of accounting and finance?
Well, the word exciting it'll mean different things to different people.
I love it.
So what I'll say is I think the opportunities that have been happening for a while,
Yeah.
that we're definitely in, and I think is going to continue in the future, is the automation of the number crunching.
Yes.
The technology of, just more systems being web-based, the linking between operational systems and accounting systems, the less time that it takes to actually, get some of these things done, allows accountants to be more like people. And I think it's been happening for, at least a few years, if not longer.
Yeah.
But we're definitely in that so much more than before, because it's even to a point where I'm also seeing some accountants, some CPA firms, like, have YouTube channels. You would have never thought that in a million years before. Like, people would used to go into accounting to avoid people.
Yeah.
But now more than ever, it's, being given that voice, that trusted ear,
awesome.
To just, to talk through certain things. So I think that's one generally that's been happening as we move forward.
Yeah.
Another few things is, the tax world, the accounting world, the compliance world is truly getting more complex.
Yeah.
There are more, the generic tax answer is always, it depends, right? It depends. Like, is this good? Well, it depends. Can I do this? Well, it depends. Yeah. And that is increasingly so now, and continues to be, regardless of who's in office, regardless of who controls Congress.
Yeah.
It's just the tax world is getting more complex. The gap accounting world is, getting a little bit closer to the international standard as our world gets smaller. Yep. So there are changes to be had. There are, modifications that are coming into the rules. And so it's making sure that we stay compliant about those things, that we're applying these things, these changes properly as we move forward. And to do it in a way where it's understandable, right? It's not just, okay, this is the rule, so this is what we need to do. Okay, so go do it. Because it affects operations, it affects hiring sometimes, it affects inventory, it affects leasing activities. Yeah. I mean, it affects so many different parts of the business where a certain set of rules may have yielded certain business activities. But now with these new rules, we're going to think about it differently.
Downstream,
with one quick thing, not to get so technical, but operating leases for publicly traded companies and for private very soon.
Right.
Operating leases are now on the balance sheet as liabilities. And so what that means is, like, when you rent office space, that liability of that lease that you signed now is going to appear as a liability on your balance sheet. And then when you come to the question of lease versus buy,
right?
And do I lease a car? Do I buy a car? Well, now the parameters of that decision is different because of this new changing rule that now it used to be off balance sheet, but now it's on. And so, there's a few things like that is, keeping us sharp, keeping us current.
But I think then what the implications are, right? I mean, it'll be on your balance sheet, and then the implications of that is X, and then so part of it, it's so, the marketing space, I see sometimes it's incredibly exciting to be in this data analytics, insights, research space, and it's also crushingly overwhelmed because it's moving at such a crazy fast pace. So we're trying to, keep it as simple as possible in a very complex world.
Yes.
And trying to explain, if we do this, it's going to have this impact 2 or 3 steps down the road. And I think that's it sometimes, is people, then we just have an immediate, okay, well then I'll do this, then I'll buy instead of rent, or then I'll do this instead, but we're not thinking 2 or 3 steps down.
Right.
And so being that hand holder, I guess, or advisor, to be able to say, okay, if we make this decision, this is what can happen. If we make this decision, this is what will happen. And then knowing that this is your overall business goal of where you want to go, then we're suggesting A or B of where to go. It's just such an interesting, I don't know. I love the philosophy. I think back to the beginning, and I could, this is a huge compliment, which I said in the beginning, I could talk to you for days about this kind of stuff, because not normally, and I'm sure Kate's saying thank you very much, because now I'm asking so many more finance questions that I'm actually excited to talk about it. But I feel like where the transition with me happened when I was chatting with you about it, and not that Kate and everybody else wasn't doing this, but it related to the bigger picture, because that's
Right.
as a marketer and where I am, I'm like, instead of just in the tasks and the weeds of the balance sheet and the income statement and the this, and just
Right.
looking in a silo, it's all about like, but what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what
Right.
was the bigger picture? What was the impact of these things?
Right.
And then it's starting to all make sense. So I think of changing the dialogue and the conversation. What you guys are doing is just very unique that I haven't seen before. I don't know, which I think is exciting. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know. I have like a million other questions, and I know our time is short here, so I'm sure we will do this again. But is there any like big things that I missed that I was chatting and excited about?
No, I mean, my only concluding comment to kind of tie it back to what you were just saying is, for us, the big picture is the family. Our
Yeah,
big picture is the people behind the
which is
business.
awesome.
These are decisions that are not just business decisions, but they're family legacy decisions
Huge.
that tie into so many different things that is beyond numbers, right? That is beyond any one specific thing.
Yeah.
And for us, what that allows us to do in day-to-day things is, work alongside other professionals to recognize, hey, it truly is a team effort. It takes a village,
Yeah.
right? It's all of us together playing our role and executing our role to the best of our ability so
Yeah.
that we all adhere to a bigger cause and purpose, which on a case by case is each family by family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's such an awesome thing. I mean, I know when we're working with people, service providers that we have and partners and whatnot, is definitely making sure that we're working with people that understand the difference and the uniqueness, and they love and understand the family business dynamic. It
Yeah.
just is a different monster and
Yes.
beautiful
Yes.
thing
Yes.
than not. So I just think it's so awesome about what it is. So I for sure will put your information, but Whittaker and Company, I'm assuming, or Whittaker and Co. I don't know. I should know your website, but what's your website?
Whittaker CPAS.com. I should know
.com.
too.
I love it as my marketing guy. All right, we'll put the information down here for sure. And then obviously your thought leader blog that we have as well. And I 100% want to continue the conversation, Daniel, and dig in more for this. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Great. Thank you.